Premiership table look tonight then ahead of all the other Saturday kick-offs? Well, Hearts remain in third, but it's back-to-back defeats for them. Inverness up from 10th to 7th now. Looks a lot better all of a sudden. And these are the fixtures tomorrow. The top two meet: Aberdeen against Celtic, Dundee United play Kilmarnock. That's important for both of those teams who have not started well at all. It's Motherwell against Ross County, Partick Thistle taking on Dundee, and St Johnstone Hamilton rounds off the fixture card. It's an important win here for Inverness. James Vincent back from injury scoring, Miles Storey on his debut as well, and our full review comes next. Well, Inverness have recorded their first victory of the season tonight, winning 2-0 against Hearts. James Vincent opened the scoring on his return from injury. Juan Oshiniwa then saw red before new boy Miles Storey sealed the win. Reaction now with Ailey Barber. Here's Greg Tansey and Ryan Christie.
Well, Greg, finally you have the win. That must feel good, and it must feel nice to come off that pitch cheering at 3 points at last. Yeah,
it's great to get the monkey off our backs. You know, we've been close a few times this season. It's been really frustrating. You know, this time last season we were flying, and you know everything we hit seemed to go in, and everything was going right. The lads showed great character today because you know in the past few weeks we haven't done ourselves justice, and I think tonight showed you know we're on the right path.
What was different tonight coming into this match? You've obviously had a couple of weeks to look at things, and with the international break, has that had a big help in coming into this game and preparing properly to really kickstart the season?
Yeah, definitely. We've had an international break, and it was important because we've had a lot of injuries as well. And you know, I think everyone knows we've got such a small squad that you know it can really hurt us. And it was great to get a few lads back and a few new additions. Miles and Toby come on. I thought he did very well when he come on. So you know the squad's looking better now, and you know I think we'll just go from strength to strength. You got lads like Ryan, who's you know he's got tremendous ability, and you know he'll always create something for us, and it's great to see. It's great to play with.
Yeah, you mentioned players coming back into the team, and Ryan, you stayed in the team, but you've had a bit of a switch in that international break. How has this last couple of weeks been for you? It must have been a real whirlwind.
Yeah, hectic. You know, it's been nice because so many messages, kind messaging from family, friends, and you know I've kind of felt the support from everyone in Inverness. I think now though when I came back after the international break I realised that there's still plenty to do with Inverness, and that's where my focus is.
Do you feel a sort of sense of pressure on you a little bit, because I know you've given so much to this club, but you are a Celtic player playing at Inverness. Do you feel that you need to prove a little bit that you are still here 100% playing for Inverness?
I don't really feel the pressure. You know, some people might see it like that. To be fair, I've got a great group of boys behind me in that dressing room that I'm sure that will keep me right in these next couple of months. You know, in terms of you know looking down to Celtic, that's in the future. And like I said, right now, Carly Thistle's where I'm at.
Well, there's a little bit of magic for the goal that you produced, but I'm afraid you're going to have to pass the champagne to the man in your life, because Greg, you are the man of the match. Well done.
Well done, Greg.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Well, Michael Stewart and Stephen Craigan have been watching on, and that's a really big victory for Inverness, and players like James Vincent back from injury making an impact.
Well, we spoke about that at the top of the show, saying that, you know, John was without so many important players. I think Josh Meeking's coming into the back four as well made that solid. You know, it was two natural centre-halves playing and two natural full-backs, which John hasn't had often enough this season. So all round a very impressive performance.
A fair old test for Hearts now in the coming weeks as well. Back-to-back defeats for the first time for Robbie Nielsen.
Yeah, it's a new thing that they're going to have to deal with. You know, even when you look at last season, there wasn't a lot of defeats either. And you know, I've spoken about it as well that you know, there's a lot made of the long hours that are put in, a lot of hard training that goes in, and players will buy into it when they're winning games. The difficulty now is, you know, that Robbie's got a clear philosophy of what he wants to do, and I'm no doubt after watching that performance as well, they looked sloppy, they looked sluggish. And there might be some players in there that will be sitting and thinking, I'm knackered, I'm tired, I'm training too much. When you're not getting results, there's extra pressure that's added onto that, and it'll be interesting to see, you know, how they manage to come out the other end of this.
Inverness will not be feeling like that at all, though. Such an important 3 points, considering they've not won since the cup final. I've mentioned that a couple of times. And James Vincent, who scored the winning goal, back in the team, and he gets a big one here. But great work by Ryan Christie.
Well, the goal and, you know, the little bit of quality at that stage wasn't in keeping with the game, because the game was quite poor. It was a bit low key. It was lacking a little bit of fresh impetus in the final third. But, you know, John Hughes said at the top of the programme he wanted Ryan Christie to go out, put in a man of the match performance, go and be creative, play with the reins off, and he done that for the goal. You know, he took men on, but from a Hearts point of view, it was a poor clearance by Orstuk, it was poor defending by Callum Patterson, and then Ocean Weah at the back post was terrible.
And Ocean Weah was then sent off for, well, is this a punch? Would you describe it as a punch? Because actually, when you look at this, Alexander in goal here, that's Toby Silva, who is eventually involved with Oshiniwa. There's something going on here with Rossi at this point, and Alexander sort of saying keep the head to his teammates, but unfortunately, Michael, they don't.
Well, I mean, this sums up Oshiniwa's performance. You know, I talk about sloppiness and sluggishness. That was typified by Oshiniwa right throughout the whole night. There's no doubt there's a red card. It's totally stupid. There's a lack of thought going into his performance tonight, and look at that. It's just, it doesn't look too, much here, but the next angle, there is absolutely no doubt he throws a punch here. It's absolute stupidity. And at times, I watch Oshiniwa's performance and I think to myself, what's he doing? He gets dragged out of position. He ends up, almost as a right winger at times. He's disconnected from his centre half, and it sums up Hearts' performance. Craggs was talking about the goal that they lost there, poor defending from Patterson. But when the ball goes across, Oshiniwa's at the back post. He's closed off. He doesn't see where the player is. And I just think to myself, last season, you had somebody like Eckersley playing a lot of games. They let him go. For me, he looks like a better defender than Oshiniwa is at the moment.
That's an awful moment for Oshiniwa. That does not look good, Stephen.
No, it doesn't look good at all. I agree with Chris in commentary. There probably wasn't enough of a touch there for Silva to go down. But the fact that you're quite prepared to throw your fist out there and put it towards someone's face has to be, looked at, has to be done. Neil Alexander probably didn't help his cause. He was shouting at him and screaming at him and pointing the finger. So, there's no doubt that it was definitely a red card.
That tells me a lot as well, though. When you see Neil Alexander making that reaction, it makes me think: is he looking at Oshiniwa's performance as well, and a little bit annoyed at what he's been putting in? Because as Craig says there, he's not done his cause any favours by doing that.
And then it got worse, Michael, because Miles Story then scores for Inverness shortly after that, and well, when they were down to 10, it was always going to be difficult, Stephen.
Well, it was Sam Nicholson ended up at left back. The fact that he doesn't close Story down, but Story played up front. He was lively, he was aggressive, he had a little bit of pace about him, and this probably typified his performance. I thought coming in as a new player and making your debut, you want to make an impact. There's a little bit of pressure on you because your side haven't scored a home goal. His performance helped Inverness get up the pitch. It caused Hearts problems, and it was probably a well-deserved goal for him.
They absolutely need a goal scorer. Could he be the man? Did he impress you overall tonight, Miles Story?
Yeah, I think that he was a handful for the Hearts defence, who were poor all night, but he definitely caused them a lot of problems, as did Silva when he came on. I thought he definitely helped out Inverness's front line as well.
Okay, let's hear from John Hughes, the Inverness manager now, who's with Ailey.
John, finally, you have the win, you have the home goals. You really grew into that match today, didn't you?
Yes, I felt first half Hearts were possibly the better team. I think we had a 50-minute spell, but second half we got in, organised at half time, and all credit to the boys. They implemented everything I asked of them, won the midfield battle in the second half, and absolutely delighted to score 2 goals.
You could almost see what that first goal did for the team, because it must be difficult not scoring at home, and the longer that you go on without a win, the more difficult it is to get one. You could almost see the sort of confidence grow from that goal.
Yeah, and I seen it myself. I think there was an incident where I think Carol Tremarco, a ball come in, he pulled it down on his chest, played the pass, and I just felt, here we go, the whole team just relaxed after that. But getting the goals is important. I think you've seen the importance of the 2 new signings, Silva and Story. Absolutely delighted for Story to get his goal, and I think they two, what I says before the game, they stretch the game for us, they take us up there, they're a handful that lets us go and play, and I felt we played very well in the second half. First half, no, that's not acceptable, but second half we showed a bit of spirit, and we're not too far away. As you say, first goals that we've scored at Inverness, we're not too far away. We could be sitting right up in that league. Just lady luck just deserted us, but tonight was absolutely different class and 3 points, so eventually I'll enjoy my weekend.
Enjoy it indeed, John. Thanks very much.
Cheers, thanks very much.
And he will enjoy that weekend. He was saying ahead of the game that he absolutely wants his team to start believing again, doesn't he? I'll come back to you in just a second, because Robbie Nielsen has now just stepped into the interview room with Ailey.
Robbie, another game, and again we're talking about a referee. 2 penalty claims in the first half that were denied, and then the red card. What were your thoughts on those incidents?
To be honest, I couldn't tell you right now. I've not looked at it yet. The referee's made a decision. We need to accept it and we move on. I think I said enough a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what to comment on it now.
How frustrating is it though? It looked like Ocean raised his hands, and I suppose if you look at the letter of the law, referees have to do that. But does there need to be perhaps more common sense in the way that referees officiate games?
I've not seen it yet, so I couldn't comment. I don't know. You guys have watched it a couple of times, and I've not seen it. I don't know. I know the dugout where we are about 60, 70 yards away, so you know, I didn't see it happen. I seen with somebody lying on the ground. I'll need to take a look at it. The player said he's just, you know, he's flicked his hand out, the boys went down, so we'll see.
In terms of your team's performance tonight, what are your thoughts on that and your frustrations in terms of, I'm sure the final third of it will be a big frustration for you?
Yeah, look, we didn't deserve to win a game. You know, I thought we didn't create enough. We didn't pass the ball as well as we can. We didn't fight and we didn't earn the right to win the game, which is the biggest disappointment for me. I think in this league, you have to compete. You have to compete physically, and I just felt today we didn't. I felt we were hoping that things would happen for us, and they didn't. And you know, got to take it to the chin. We've got 2 big games coming up now, and we move on.
Thanks very much, Robbie.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, you wouldn't have thought he'd appeal that red card, and probably the penalties in the first half. You guys didn't think they were penalties. It's a bad night overall, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think that was a fair assessment from Robbie there. He says the team didn't deserve to win. You know, it was a poor performance, but I think, you know, I'm sure when Robbie goes home and he watches the game again, he'll realise that I think he's made the wrong choices with the starting lineup. You see the subs that came on, they definitely made an impact. They should have started the game. You know, somebody like Danny Swanson coming in, perhaps he should have come off the bench.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Aberdeen and Celtic next for them. It's a tough run. We will see you on Thursday for Ajax against Celtic. All out of time now. See you soon. Bye-bye.